Hello viewers, a very good afternoon. Welcome to our FB live session. Today we have an interesting topic for us, which is what should be your diet during this quarantine. I know many of us are suffering this lockdown and are at home since more than a month now. So dear viewers, if at all you have any doubts related to the diet that you need to be following during this quarantine, just leave them in the comment section. We will be taking them during the live session. And today we have with us Miss Harita Sham, who is a chief dietitian at Apollo Hospitals, Jubilee Hills, Hyderabad. She is here to clarify all our doubts and clear all our worries regarding the diet, the nutrition, which we need to be taking, not only we, children at home, the elders at home, or anybody who is having diabetes or any heart problems related to transplant maybe, or cancer patients. So all your doubts will be addressed today during this FB live session. Welcome ma'am, welcome to our FB live session. And so let's start our session ma'am. So as our topic is what should be our diet during this quarantine. So as many people are suffering now due to this lockdown, even the stress and anxiety. Yeah. So let's address all these problems and doubts today. Please take off now.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone. I think this is one topic where all of us can relate to, understand, and in a certain quarters do also know what to do. But then there'll still be certain queries that you want to clarify. Those small doubts which crop up and constantly bug you whether you're doing the right thing for your family or not. So let's try and understand what your diet should be during this period of quarantine. What are the checkpoints that we need to have, and what are the broad understanding that we need to keep in mind so that we are on the right track. Now there are two major important components of diet during this period. One is we wanted to be preventive, we wanted to strengthen our immunity. At the same time we want to make sure that it is not really breaking us down in other quarters, whether it be diabetes, whether it is be a heart issue, a hypertension, so on and so forth. So let us look at the most important question, that is how do I really build my immunity. We all know that we've all gone through this period for a month or so now, and we know that it's going to take another 2 or 3 months before we completely come out of it. So during this period we want to make sure that we are best in our immunity and we are doing whatever is within our capacity to ensure that we are taking a right diet. So how do we really build our immunity? How do we really make sure that the right ingredients are there in our diet? Immunity is best built by foods that can fight infection, foods that can prevent infection. So what are the foods that are can really fight infection? The topmost are the ones which are rich in antioxidants. The topmost are the ones which are rich in phytochemicals. What are these foods? These are the foods which are richest in their color. The moment you have a bright colored fruit and vegetable, you automatically know that you're getting good amount of antioxidants from that diet. You're getting good amount of chemicals, phytochemicals, which allow you to fight any kind of an infection and therefore boost your immunity. We also have certain nutrients like your vitamin C, vitamin A, both which are extremely important for us in terms of building our immunity. And if you see this season, we are also getting that right kind of fruit. We are getting our oranges now, we are getting our guavas, we are getting the very sour mangoes, which are a very rich source of vitamin C. And there is a absolute need to ensure that these are there as part of our meal. We encourage our family to incorporate them, or we make dishes which incorporate all these foods, so that in one form or the other it is there as part of our diet, and we are consciously also building it into our diet.
So ma'am, as you know that children are at homes nowadays, and they tend to enjoy junk food which is not available now. So are there any replacements? I know healthy food cannot replace junk food, but still share some tips for the mothers staying at home regarding how to beat that children's tamperings and all for the junk food.
If I look at my immediate friends and colleagues and surroundings and look at what they're actually stocking up for their family, when I looked a little deeper, I realized that people are actually stocking up chips, people are putting up noodles, people are stocking biscuits for their children, because that that's such an easy giveaway to the child. But we also need to know that we also need to be sure that their immunity and their health is equally important. Kids who are playing suddenly for a couple of hours a day are locked down and they're absolute zero activity, and they could easily comfortably put on 3 to 4 kgs, and we will not even realize that that has happened. So there is a need to cut down on the junk, as Harita said, but try and replace it as much as possible. So what are your evening snack items? That's when children crave, they want you to make something. So you need to make something which is definitely not deep fried. Deep fried thing seems to be the most in thing. People are drinking up liters and liters of oil and doing your bhajiyas and batata vadas and pungulu and all of that. So try and cut down on that as much as possible. Try and do a lot of baked stuff, do a lot of a little twist to your normal food that you do. For example, if you are doing chapatis, maybe you can do an enchilada. You can stuff it with a lot of vegetables and a little bit of cheese and do a enchilada. Similarly, you can make tacos out of your regular wheat chapatis and fill the tacos with whatever you want. You want to fill them with your rajma and tomatoes and make it like a regular Mexican taco. You want to fill it up with your potatoes and chole and add some chutneys to it and make it like an Indian taco. The regular Indian, the regular food that you're making a twist to it would definitely help. All that I have to keep it in my mind is that the sweet is an absolute no. I see that a lot of people are making gulab jamuns, they're making jalebis, they're making a lot of laddus and keeping it at home. All these are extremely calorie dense, are okay for once in like say 15 days or once a month, but certainly not made on an alternate day basis or an everyday basis. So the desserts or the sweets also should have plenty of fruit laden into it. I see a lot of people baking cakes, try and include nuts into it, try and include dates into it, try and make a banana cake rather than doing a regular sugar based cake. Try and replace your 100% maida that you will be using for your cake with wheat flour as much as possible, so that in those little in the stuff that we are making on a regular basis, we are ensuring that it is not harming the child in any other manner.
Ma'am, we have a question from an audience from Miss Jyoti. She says she has her aged mother at home who is 88 years old. Is she advisable to stick to vegetarian food during this lockdown, considering that digestion is slow at this age, or can she have non-veg?
Yeah, I think your thought process is absolutely correct. Non-vegetarian food, whatever said and done, is going to be harder to digest as compared to vegetarian food. So keeping it simple, keeping it close to a very Indian thali, keeping fruits and vegetable in the diet and keeping it vegetarian definitely will help with easy digestion and will contribute to a plenty of fiber. At the same time, if this lady has already been used to eating some amount of non-vegetarian food, and if it is only sprinkling through the week once or twice a week, there is no need to cut that out if she's already comfortable with. The idea is to not to reintroduce any new heavy meal which she's not used to, which she's not familiar with, or which she already has issues of digestion in the previous in the past.
Ma'am, thank you so much, ma'am, for that insights. And there are even diabetic patients sitting at home who are not going to their regular checkups and all, and not able to do their regular physical activity.
Yeah.
So can diet help that portion to fill up that gap?
Yeah, absolutely. I think where there is going to be very limited physical activity, you are on medication, but you're still worried about the sugars going haywire. You can be extremely controlled about your diet. Ensure that you're taking foods which are slow to digest or have plenty of fiber in them. Fiber is the focus nutrient if you're a diabetic. Ensure that you are having 25 to 30 grams of fiber. You may not be able to calculate it per se, but you make sure that there are at least 1 or 2 high fiber fruits which you can have, like say a guava or an orange or a pomegranate or a papaya. This should be part of your meal, especially as in between snacks. Even with your major meals, make sure some salad is there because they are loaded with fiber. They will not allow you to overeat. You automatically are controlling the satiety that you are having. Similarly, also ensure that you can take fiber from lot of pulses. Pulses which have seed coat around it will have more fiber, especially soluble fiber, which is particularly helpful. So if you include a lot of sprouts or chole or rajma, these actually contribute to contribute to controlling your sugar levels. Similarly, you can get fiber if you sprout the same pulse. You get a higher amount of fiber. So a lot of green leafy vegetables, a lot of cooked vegetables in your diet will contribute for your fiber intake, and make sure that each meal that you're taking, breakfast, lunch and dinner, has sufficient quantity of it, and automatically it will ensure that your post-meal sugars are not too high. There is a slow, consistent, gradual release of sugar, and then the overall day sugar is also pretty much under control.
Ma'am, as you were mentioning about the diabetes, so we have a question related to that. A mother is asking, can we make sweets, cakes and all with the sugar-free, complements that we have, like Diabliss, sugar-free syrups and sugar-free Trablips?
Yeah. I think this is an important question. While you can make sweets with sugar-free, on the other hand, you realize that there's a lot of any sweet or any cookie that is made or a cake that is made, for example, will have a lot of butter in it, will have a lot of maida in it. So it's just not the sugar component that we're talking about when we're talking about sweets. Let's say we're talking about an Indian sweet. There will be some amount of khova, there will be some amount of maida that is added, or you may have to deep fry the sweet. So how do you ensure that the other components are taken care of? So once in a while, like in your regular life, you can use those sugar-frees to make desserts, but it can't be a day in, day out. You may be managing the sugar, but you will end up contributing to a lot of other refined products like maida or other high-fat products where you have to deep fry the product.
Ma'am, how about patients who have undergone heart transplant or liver transplant? Because they need to be at utmost care now, not getting exposed to the outside conditions and not getting infected and all. So they staying at home, and how will the nutrition play a vital role in boosting their immunity levels?
Yeah. So these are major surgeries, that is heart transplants and liver transplants. And if somebody has had them very, very recently, yes, rightfully they have to take care of their immune levels. They have to ensure that they are not taking anything from outside, ready to eat foods. I think that's already been explained to you. In any case, to ensure that they do not, get any kind of infected food, or should I say, fruits that, for example, if they're taking fruits, how do they ensure which fruit is the safest for them? So the best way to do so are the ones which are covered fruits, and avoid all raw vegetable salads. Normally we say take a lot of salads in most conditions, but people who've just undergone major surgeries, you have to ensure that you are not immunocompromised, and therefore cut down on the salad, cut down on fruits which you have directly. For example, if you eat a fruit like an apple, you have to eat it directly. But on the other hand, if you're eating something like an orange, or if you're eating something like a pomegranate, you automatically are peeling the outer part of it and only having the inside core of it, and that's very well protected and can be comfortably had. Another point that you have to focus on, recovery that is going to be prolonged for you for about 2 months or maybe 3 months, has to ensure that you're taking a high protein diet, whether it is a vegetarian source or a non-vegetarian source. The proteins have to be at least 70 to 80 grams per day. So how do you ensure that you're getting at least 70 to 80 grams of protein per day? You have to ensure that you're taking your milk, your curd, your dal. Apart from that, the vegetarian high sources of protein will be your low-fat paneer or cottage cheese. You will get it from soya, you get it from good quality eggs, you get it from your fish and chicken, which are low in protein. So ensure that all of these high protein items you are having through the week, so that you are getting your daily dose of protein, which helps in any kind of a surgical recovery that you are looking at.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And ma'am, we have a typical question. Can we have chicken daily, is one of the user asking.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of confusion, doubt around whether the non-vegetarian food can be had or not. If you see all the guidelines, whether they are put up by the National Institute of Nutrition, ICMR, or rolled over by WHO, all of them are talking about not eating uncooked food or semi-cooked food. But if your non-vegetarian food like chicken or fish or mutton is well cooked, and most Indian style of cooking is well cooked, we make a curry out of it mostly, and that's absolutely fine if you're sure that you're cooking it completely and consuming the food. So it's absolutely okay to consume, provided you have cooked it well and these foods are not half cooked.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And you, as you were mentioning earlier about the junk food and the processed food, I have a doubt, ma'am. We even tend to have access to the tinned foods, which are half cooked or par-boiled vegetables and all. Is that good to eat? In general itself, not during this quarantine itself, in generally also, is that good to eat such foods?
Yeah, generally canned foods in Indian situation are picked up when there is no time to cook, or their availability of fresh produce is not so easy to acquire. I think all of us are getting enough fresh produce, but still if you have a habit of picking up canned foods, you have to make sure that you have to understand that they are either extremely sweetened or extremely salted. For example, if you pick up a canned fish product, it will be in brine solution, that is salt solution. If you're picking up a canned fruit like a pineapple, for example, it will be dipped in a lot of sugar solution. So this will automatically contribute to the unnecessary extra sugar, extra salt that we want to control during this period of time. So if you have access to fresh produce, that is the best thing to do. It may take time a little bit in the preparation of it, in the cutting of it, but there is absolutely no replacement to it.
Ma'am, we have another question, ma'am. I have GERD problems. So this time, what should the diet I be following? GERD, I'm just mentioning that for the audience. Esophageal reflux disease.
Yeah, I think gastroesophageal reflux is a very, very common thing. All of us face it at some point of time, and it is something so small but yet very, very nagging. Sometimes it could it could not disturb you through the day, but night when you sleep it could be really, really disturbing. The general mantra for GERD is you have to avoid spicy food. You have to see if oily food is bothering you. Many a times GERD is aggravated with deep fried stuff. So when you eat your samosas and when you eat your chips, you feel fine, but after 2 hours, after 3 hours, you feel extremely uncomfortable. Similarly with spicy food, with pickles, masala food, you see that when you are having that food, you don't have a problem. But after 2 hours, after 3 hours, or when you go to bed, there is a lot of regurgitation and you are extremely uncomfortable. Apart from avoiding all this, you have to ensure that the stomach is not empty for a prolonged period of time. So if you have had food 3 or 4 hours back, it's time to replenish. It's time to put some food into your stomach so that the acid is not continuously formed. At the same time, you should not, take food which is going to aggravate the situation. How do you ensure healing? How do you prevent the symptoms, especially which occur in the night? Is small meals, frequent meals, and a very, very early dinner. If you finish your dinner by 7 o'clock, have a light dinner, you will observe that late night symptoms are highly controlled.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And many people now are suffering with stress and anxiety.
True.
Can diet help them in overcoming this stress and anxiety? Because many people, when they are in stress, they tend to eat more than the regular food intake.
True.
But instead of just eating whatever they eat, can you guide them some good nutritious and supplementary food?
So stress and anxiety, whether we accept it or not, in some subtle way, all of us are going through it. We are not sure about what's happening now. We are not sure about the future. And this is contributing to some level of apprehension. And when there is apprehension, there is mindless eating. And then to cover that, to prevent this mindless eating, or even if we eat, we should be rest assured that that is not pushing us to a corner of guilt of having consumed that what I shouldn't have consumed. So the only way to tackle this is to not keep food which probably is only going to contribute to further guilt and further anxiousness. So if you're going, you look at your pantry, look at your refrigerator. Are you stocking up sweets? Are you stocking up chocolates? Are you having a lot of ice cream tubs in your refrigerator? What are the cookies that you're keeping in your pantry? All these need to be checklisted, cleared, and ensured, and you have to ensure that you are replacing them with healthy stuff. So, for example, if you are typically eating a bhujia or a mixture with your evening tea time snack, can you replace it with a light dry bhel kind of a thing, or some makhana, or dry roasted popcorn, rather than having anything deep fried? These are small things, tidbits, but these contribute heavily either to indigestion, either to the feeling of guilt and anxiousness later, and also to the overall ill health that we are going to face. So ensure that all your easy to reach out items, what you're going to keep on the table, have to be which contribute to your health. So keep the dining table loaded with lots of different kinds of fruits. From time to time, make sure that you are making that conscious effort of cutting some fruit and making each family member eat that, because children won't pick that on their own and eat. So you either cut them fancily or from period to period, time to time, couple of hours, you insist that they have it, and then that becomes a habit and a pattern. If any of us is tired, exhausted, feeling stressed, just by eating the watermelon, you really feel that hit of you can sense that hit of freshness and relaxation and cooling that we experience. So that needs to be a daily experience, and then it kind of sits on your conscious, and you start enjoying that. So these are things that you need to do to ensure consciously. Unless you do these things consciously, they are not going to become a habit, and unless they become a habit, we are not going to experience the goodness of it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And please suggest diet tips for the cancer patients.
Cancer patients are the ones who are continuing to undergo the therapy. For many of the conditions which is elective, we've actually been able to hold it on for some time, but cancer therapies have to go on. They cannot be stopped in between. So this is a period which is both in the cancer condition, where there is some amount of swallowing difficulty, there is some amount of not being able to eat the regular food. Plenty of liquid or liquefied foods come to the rescue. Cancer patients can and should ensure that they are, every second hour there are some liquids. Now these liquids of course have to be healthy and of course have to be filling. So there can be, the best examples would be some thick liquids which will give roughly about the same calories at the volume. Something like a milkshake. If you have a banana milkshake, a chiku milkshake, or a mango milkshake, you will easily get 200 calories, and that keeps you going for the next 1 or 2 hours. Similarly, you can have porridges like oats porridge or a ragi porridge, either with milk or with buttermilk, which will give you that cooling sensation and give you that energy for a couple of hours. All your fruit juices, coconut waters, your milkshakes are all replacements that you can put in if your intake is not adequate. Even if the intake is fairly good, these are hydrating, give you some healthy calories, and should be incorporated in your diet to get both the calories and proteins and the other vitamins, minerals that you so very rightly need during this period.
Ma'am, another interesting question that a user has asked, and I was waiting for the end to ask that question. As the Ramzan season has started off, and people fast from morning till evening. So the user is asking the same question. So please give us some tips for Ramzan during this quarantine. Eating fruits in iftar after a prolonged halt is good, or please suggest something else which is good, because most of the time they feel like bloating because of empty stomach. So how to break the fast is what she meant.
Breaking the fast post Ramadan, I think it's beautifully there in your patterns and systems. You're breaking it first. Instead of jumping onto a meal, you break the fast with a fruit or a dry fruit, and that's perfectly done. So you don't dump food suddenly after several hours. You break the fast with small little sources of energy that kind of replenishes you, and after a while you eat a meal. I just did a consultation for a diabetic patient, and I realized that the patient was having a hypoglycemic even because of the sudden Ramadan fast which he started a couple of days ago. So you have to ensure that you relook at your medication, you rearrange your diet, you are not supposed to eat one meal a day. You know, this patient was eating one meal a day and trying to control both sugar levels and follow the religious fast. So while you're in Ramadan, you're still allowed to eat early mornings, you're still allowed to eat late in the evenings. Fasting with fruits and dry fruits is absolutely the right thing to do, followed by a regular meal. While many of them are fasting, they're not losing weight because the food at both these places is very, both these ends is very heavy. You just have to ensure that a regular, simple, balanced meal is followed at both the meals. There will be some special preparations, but if that is over the weekend, that happens once in 10 days, that is absolutely fine. And then you will actually see that since there are only 2 meals per day, and as far as these 2 meals are well balanced, you will actually experience weight loss during this fasting period.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And there is another question, ma'am, from our audience. Eating jawar roti in the morning, breakfast, and in the lunch, is it healthy, or does it tend to produce overheat in the body?
No. I think jawar roti is a very good Indian millet, a very good replacement which is locally available wherever you are. To the routine rice and wheat cereal that we all have got used to. So if you have availability of jawar and that's your pattern to eat every day in the morning, which is, in many places like Maharashtra or in Telangana, you eat a lot of jawar, especially for the dinner and for the breakfast. So if that's the pattern, please go ahead. It does not cause heat. It is a slow digesting, higher fiber content containing cereal, and very helpful. It prevents overeating, we reach early satiety, will control blood sugar levels very well, and you're strongly encouraged to do so.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And we have come to the end of our session, and many questions are rolling down which have already been discussed, dear audience, related to transplant and related to gastric troubles and related to kids' diet and all. Please do rewind the session at the end of it so that you'll find your answers. If not, still we will get back to you with the appropriate answers. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us and sharing a lot of information about diet to be followed during this quarantine time, and I hope many of the doubts of the users are also being answered and resolved also. Any final words, ma'am?
Thank you for having me here, Anita, today. Definitely the final words are watch out and keep an eye on your salt, keep an eye on your sugar, keep an eye on your oil, and try and include a lot of color. Luckily we are all getting many fruits and vegetables which are seasonal. Yes, this is a mango season, you are allowed to eat. Try and eat a lot of green mango because that is a very good rich source of vitamin C. It's just going to be available for a short period and it's going to vanish. So put it in your chutneys, put it in your rasam, make some pulihora out of it, or you want to add it to your vegetables, whichever way. In these next couple of months, it's going to it's going to contribute to your health in a big way.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you to your audience. Stay tuned for more such informative and educative live sessions from our expert doctors. Thank you for tuning in to Apollo Hospitals.